I'm standing by myself in the middle of the woods. Why am I wearing a mask?
Yeah, yeah. So there are definitely lots of dumb things like doing doing PT over a Zoom call. Have
No,
you heard that story
I
yet?
haven't heard about PT on Zoom.
Yeah. And before continuing that subject, I do want to go back and also say that there's a senior NCO should also be mentoring their folks towards these sorts of goals. Like it shouldn't just be on the Army to provide a program for soldiers to take it or leave it, but I definitely believe that senior NCOs and supervisors should be at least aware of it and be like actively pressing their lower enlisted to go look into these things. In the exact
Yeah.
same way they press them to be, have better PT scores and all that.
Well, I think there's a bigger argument to be made about that in general, because like when you talk about
Mm-hmm.
how you're 19 years in, they're wanting to send you to Korea. Just the,
Mm-hmm.
the mindset of the military at that point of looking at the individual. So like there is obviously the need for the overall, like when you get up in front of the crowd and you give your big, we're gonna be the Army, duh! But then you also have to do the where you walk into the crowd and you talk to the person. And so, like,
Yeah,
your leadership
yeah,
in your case should be able to see and talk back to their leadership of going, like, maybe we shouldn't pick the 19-year guy with a family to go to Korea again. Maybe we should be looking at some of the other ones who might be more willing to volunteer for this assignment kind of thing. And, like that whole, like,
yeah,
you're in the Army, you got to do what the Army says thing. Like, that only goes so far, man. Like, we're still people, we still have individual needs.
yeah. All that's very true. As a counterpoint, I do want to just say that the unit treated me really well as far as somebody transitioning the first Signal Brigade in Korea. They allowed me a lot of latitude to take care of what I needed to do to get out on the best terms that I could come up with. Will also say the medical side of things, and at least on Camp Humphreys, was probably the best I'd ever had in my entire stay in the Army, as far as being able to establish appointments and talk to doctors and do all of like I had more medical appointments probably in the year I was in Korea to get all my stuff documented and taken care of before I retired, and probably the entirety of my my Army career.
Yeah.
And I really credit those doctors and the system over there. And it could just be because they have far fewer soldiers to deal with getting what I needed to get out on my own terms and identifying problems I didn't know I had. um,
Well, at least
but
your leadership was good about being able to do that in that more targeted instance.
yeah, yeah, it was nice. It was still a little bitter to be there, but but yeah, they did not make it hard on me
Well, that's
at
cool.
all.
Well, I think that's really important to tell that part though, as your, I would say at this point, one of my rare success stories coming out of the Army. Of not I mean, plenty of my
Yeah.
friends they're doing well. They live in great lives, but it's not. A lot more of it was in spite of the Army, not with the Army's assistance. So it is nice to
Hmm.
see that the system does work every once in a while for some people.
It does. Sometimes you just have to care, and sometimes it takes other people caring, and that's the Army. That's what the Army wants, is a bunch of leadership that cares. And unfortunately, that's you don't hear about those situations often. And also, people are prone to bitch. Like I think every duty station I went to, somebody would provide some, and I'd get there and be like, listen, this isn't as bad as at all. What are you talking about? Except for food, it was awful.
Oh
I
yeah.
didn't make that clear. So
Well, I mean, that's like when I was in Fort Stewart, man. Like everybody's like, "Yeah, this place sucks." I'm like, "It's not that bad, man. Like we got some cool stuff
like
right off Bose. Like,
Savannah,
yeah, Savannah. It's like
Savannah, yeah,
Savannah's like only 30, 40 minutes away. Like we can go there on the
yeah.
weekends. You got the Army Airfield that's over there. They got cool stuff going on. Like it's not that bad, man. Like
You don't like pine trees and pine cones? Come on,
like it might
some
not be your
sand.
ideal place, but I've definitely been in worse.
Yeah, yeah, and that's it is what you make of it, and it's kind of dumb. But I enjoyed even my time on Carson as being assigned to an infantry brigade and go out and, like, sleeping in tents in the woods, or not in tents in some cases. It was still good. I enjoyed it.
What was it like being in COVID world the last few years of your career?
My COVID experience was awesome.
Well, I mean, I imagine since you're in your world being more of a specialized, you probably smaller teams. You didn't have to worry about like trying to get huge units out doing things in masks and
You asked me like you've heard stories.
yeah, like I've had some friends who are talking about like being out in the field trudging through the mud and still having to wear masks, even though they're like, like I'm standing by myself in the middle of the woods. Why am I wearing a mask?
Yeah, yeah. So there are definitely lots of dumb things, like doing doing PT over a Zoom call. Have you
No,
heard that story
I
yet?
haven't heard about PT on Zoom.
Yes, we didn't, but yes, there are plenty of people soldiers out there who, for accountability's sake, like they would expect like the like platoon sergeants to get their whole platoon or whole squad on a Zoom call, and everybody's doing push-ups, looking at each other like this. We didn't do that. So I was assigned to, like I said, an infantry brigade on Carson, to an S6. S6 is all your IT stuff, so not just all your signal stuff. Firewall. You have a warrant officer that runs the firewall. You have a senior CO that does EW stuff. Another that does satellite stuff. So a lot of senior folks in the section. OIC was a major, and the HIC was a master sergeant. And the only place where there were lower enlisted was in the help desk. And so I was the help desk NCOIC supervisor. So I had 6 or 7 specialists, like one sergeant that I was in charge of. And I had free reign to do whatever I want. I would just report up to our NCOIC. I would just text them in the morning, accountability, because they wouldn't have us show up for PT. And for a while, it was minimal manning at the office. So I would kind of rotate just a couple soldiers through every single day, and with the rest being able to operate remotely. Because a lot of our work can be done. You take an Army laptop home, plug it into your home, you get on your Wi-Fi, which is a big no-no, but you use a VPN, and then you can VPN back into all our stuff on post and go and manage accounts like that. So I would have an NCO there in the office, either me, I would cycle through me, a couple other guys, and a soldier or two every day, or it was we would do minimal manning in the office to cut down the amount of interaction and try to do as much as we could remotely, because a lot of our job could be accomplished remotely. So and so needs a printer installed, I can remote to his computer from home and install the drivers, give him a call,
Yeah.
see if it works together. But we wouldn't, normally regular Army, you're doing PT 6:30 to 7:30 every day. All that was out. It was just text message accountability. And I was fortunate that the 6 or 7 lower enlisted I had, they're all E4s, like I said, the sergeant or two. They're all very, very mature for specialists. And most of them were naturally into fitness. They'd go to the gym at 4 a.m. before going to PT. Some of them would. I had some runners, so they really made it easy on me as a supervisor. So we would do like once a week. We would just go hike, like once or twice a week. I was like, "Hey, we're gonna go we drive 30 minutes in the mountains and do this trail," And because it was minimal manning during the day and like late work hours, we'd go do our 3-4 hour hike, and I'd call into whoever was on the desk, like, "Hey, really good,
Yeah.
cool. I'll see you tomorrow." Whatever. There was one. And in fact, Carson, in most Army posts, started implementing Fridays or every other Friday, something to that effect, where Friday PT was supposed to be like team building in some way. It was supposed to go from like 6:30 to like
Oh wow.
noon. So it could be anything from like boring, and don't quote me on that, but it's something like that. You might be ruck marches, might be like we played ultimate frisbee like all the time. One day I was like, no, they don't really. It's Friday. Like we're getting off early already. We're at minimum manning. We're gonna go. There's this hike I want to do. It's like an hour away. So we went and did a 9 mile hike. Like 4,000 feet elevation gain from start to finish. Absolutely awesome. Took like most of my crew up there, and on days where there was nothing, or most of the days where we didn't have anything planned, because you're not supposed to go get out, get in big groups. I would just send up text county in the morning and like I just hang out at the house with the wife and the kids and have coffee or go outside and like jump on the trampoline, and at that time I was real big into fitness and my wife was as well. I got about a deadlift mat, a bunch of weights, and a power rack down, slapped it downstairs by me in the basement. So, like that was my PT for
Yeah.
most of COVID. Now, when we would go at the field, yeah, we'd be like wearing masks, wearing full battle rattle, like all nasty. It's all sweat and dirt, and it was gross. Um, and it was annoying, but
Yeah.
eh.
It's one of those where, I mean, obviously I don't think that I have all the answers to COVID, but there were
Mm,
definitely things
yeah,
that, like, looking back, you're going like, some of this stuff is ridiculous. Like, this don't make any sense. And I can only imagine the army trying to manage like a brigade of 1,000 people, that you're trying to say like, oh, stay six
yeah,
feet apart, or like we're and the army, at least over here in the States, I don't know what kind of contracts they have going on but you would think the army would have been possible to say like, hey, like this whole base is gonna like stop for 2 weeks, and then
I mean, that's basically what happened because they would put like everybody on
yeah,
minimal manning, and you had to wear a mask going to the PX or really anywhere. Yeah, they were just doing for quiet for months. We just operated with as few people as possible in the office, and a lot of that was kind of true across the board, from what I understand. Like we'd still go in and do our. I don't even remember doing. Did we do Monday morning maintenance motor pool? I don't remember. But yeah. I mean, there's definitely an effort to just cut down on the amount of interactions. So
how was it getting like on and off post if you lived off of base during COVID times? Did they just like, a lot of people, they say like, hey, we're gonna do like, because I have friends in the reserve, they literally did online drills for like a year, where they just basically sat in front of Zoom for
yeah,
like the whole weekend. So did they tell a lot of the people like, hey, don't worry
yeah,
about coming
that's
on to post, like we're just gonna do Zoom stuff for a while?
I do know. Yes, I know that happened elsewhere, and weird stuff like that would crop up. We didn't. Like I said, I didn't. I wasn't micromanaged at all. I just set up accountability. As long as my guys are alive, we had a trouble ticket system. I could call specialist so and so from the house at like 2 in the afternoon, like, hey, I need you to look up this phone and see what it's doing. Call Major so and so. They were all very responsive, so I didn't make them sit on Zoom
Yeah.
calls all day long. We did do a few trainings, like we had to do, mandatory training where I think I got them all in Discord and we talked through like I don't know sharp
Yeah.
stuff or something. We did that. We did that. But you're gonna do that.
Well, and for you guys, I mean, like you say, you're all more kind of in the tech world, so it the transition to doing that probably wasn't so difficult. But if you had been a tanker still, like like tankers
Yeah, I don't
trained
know.
to
I
be
got no idea.
tanker, like if you're not waging war, you're training to be a taker.
Yeah.
So what do you do with it? What do you do with a bunch of infantry guys that like, all they do is military movement and ranges and training to be infantry,
I don't know. I didn't ask. I
Well,
don't
it
know.
also makes me wonder too the flip side of
Um,
that, because the army does do a lot of humanitarian stuff. So I know a lot of units will get involved
hmm.
in like, will be doing things in the local area, and so it's like, did all that kind of stuff like, hey, we can't come out because COVID, you know what I mean, like.
Um, I'm not super aware of really anything like that happening here in Colorado by Carson. But I think just generally, just everything slowed down. The op tempo slowed down um, a bunch. Um, and that's really it as far as I was
Gotcha.
concerned. Because I had a lot of latitude to do what I wanted. I had a bunch of guys, girls that were very adult for their rank. Made it easy. So
Yeah. I wish I would have had you as a E7 if I were in at that time. Well,
I
it's
tried.
one of those
So
thinking back in my job, like I liked what I did just fine. And when we were really busy, like yeah, stuff got crazy, but outside of having movement going on, like loading ships and pickup missions and all that kind of stuff, like you said, there's a lot of stuff where it's just like, why are we in the office like all day? The
oh no, I was all about. I don't want to be here.
like
You
the
don't want to be
OIC
here.
could have easily made the
I'm down with
decision
it.
of like,
Get out.
especially when we were overseas, because it's like, listen, all the plans are done. Like, we'll stay till 11, and do some
Yeah.
mandatory training or whatever. Knock some of the check some of the boxes now since we have a slow day instead of trying to catch up on it later. And then like once lunch comes,
Yeah.
just be at your chew. That way, like if we need you, we can come get you. Not a big deal, but. But I understand that
Yeah.
a lot of
It's
infantry
definitely.
units with a bunch of 17-year-olds, it might not work out so well.
Yeah. I mean, definitely some context there. You got to understand, and you got to know your audience and all that. Um, but I did try it because I hated stuff when I was younger. Like I'll admit, like I wasn't I wasn't probably as hard nosed as senior NCO as maybe I should have been. But I definitely cared and would let people get away with things. But I had expectations. I had reasonable adult expectations that the vast majority of them
Yeah.
came through on, and I could trust with things. Um, Even well, so there was one instance. One of the big problems during COVID was putting in leave because there were travel restrictions on places you could go. And in fact, there was a straight up distance they wouldn't allow
Yeah.
you to travel. Um, or do certain things like go through airports and stuff. And early on, there was my E5s, my sergeants. He was a hard worker and always took care of things. And he went to put in leave to go see he was basically raised by his uncle, from my understanding. And the dude was like on his deathbed, like 3 states away. And company commander disapproved his leave. And he was like, "Hey, Sergeant Luttrell, hey, I'm probably just gonna go, and I want you to know." And like, what am I gonna do? I'm not gonna hold the guys. I'm not gonna hold them down. I'm not gonna call the cops. I'm gonna, I could have been a prick and gone to the company command team, but I understand the human element here. It's silly. So I said, okay, look, you leave, today. It was like a Friday or something like that, and be back on Wednesday. Shoot me a text when you get there. Let me know where you're at on Monday, and I'll come up with some BS excuse, Monday and Tuesday. And he went and came back, but it was like a 10-hour trip. I think we were restricted to just a few hours, away. But yeah, I'll put my neck out for someone like that, in that sort of
Well, that's because you're a
situation.
good
So
dude, and that's that's what you gotta do. You can't do it all the time, obviously, but in a rare situation like that, I was having the exact same thought of just like, hey man, just like make sure you're here Monday morning or whatever. Like whatever happens over the weekend,
yeah,
Now if you get caught
well,
over there and get arrested, like I'm gonna deny knowing about it, but you know what I mean, like.
yeah. Yeah, I don't remember this whole conversation. I basically said I can take care of it. But also, like, some people you can't do that with. Sometimes it's hard to judge people's character.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Do what you
But
can.
you got to take those risks every once in a while. I mean, because if you are trying to have if you have a close team that does work well, and then if you were to just like outright no, it's one of those where it's counterintuitive. Like I understand, like the army has this, oh, we got to follow the rules, but in this moment, you're talking about degrading your team cohesiveness for really no other reason than like you want to
Yeah.
be a dick. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah. Well, I had the power to like do something at it and decided to
no.
do something at it.
Well, I think that's cool of you. Somebody else might get mad. Your command might get mad about it, but whatever. You're not there anymore. Fuck them.
Yeah, they're all scattered to the winds. They're nowhere near, you know. And he's out of the army too.
Well,
Yeah.
I kind of feel like that's a natural stopping point, unless you have anything else, pressing or anything else you can think of that you really want to put out there.
No,
No.
not really. We can talk about weightlifting.
Yeah.
We got into weightlifting for the AZFT. But no, I appreciate the time to talk about all this stuff.
I do have one final question.
And it says,
if there was one thing in the Army that you always wanted to do and never got a chance to, what would that be?
I don't know, man. Like, I'm pretty happy with what I did. I'm not it would have been cool to have done some of the cool guy stuff, but like, I don't like running.
Nah, I don't really like running. Well, it's just one of those, like, I would have liked to have done air assault like one time, just to say that, like I rappelled out of a helicopter. Airborne stuff, I'm not really too big on skydiving. Like, you guys can have that stuff, but it's like just one time it'd have been cool to say I did it.
Maybe. I don't know. I guess I should have made a list and thrown a blank.
No, but that's a good place to be, though. I mean,
I'm pretty happy with it.
I would imagine that's not everybody's. I'm sure there's a lot of people in my shoes. Like, man, I really want to do this and never could. You know what I mean? So that's a pretty cool spot to be at, to be content with everything.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. That's all you can be with life is be content. There were a lot. You talk about helicopters, and that is cool. But also, lots of guys that hardly now have.
Yeah, well, see, that's why I only want to do it once. I don't want to do it over and over again for 15 years, Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know plenty of them with blown out knees and bad backs and stuff, and they're like, they're younger than I am. So, they can, like say, they can keep that. I'll do it the one time and just be like, that was cool. That's fun. All right, I'm going to go back over here.
Yeah. I did always, I didn't want it enough, but I think I wish I would have pushed. I always wanted a 600 ACFT score or a 300 PT score, but I just hate running.
No, I'm in that same boat too. I got real close one time when I was overseas. I mean, the push-ups and sit-ups I had no problem, and the run I was at it was like a 1350 or something. So I was like 20 seconds away from my age group. And if I had stayed overseas a little bit longer, I probably would have made it. But then other stuff happened.
Yeah.
It would have been cool to have that patch for. But then you realize you have to do that every PT test or you lose the patch. You don't get to just keep it on your jacket, like that kind of sucks, but whatever.
Yeah. No, it was good.
All right, man. Well, thank you for doing this with me.
Yeah, sure. You want to chat again?
I'll hit you up about weightlifting offline. We should have another chat.